Hey y'all, I am back with my laptop. Okay, so last video, they kind of already had it in factored form. Why do you still see? That was weird. They had it already in factored form, set equal to 0. Now we're actually going to do the math instead of it like just being that very last step. Okay, I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, a ton of videos doing the AC method, doing greatest common factor, doing FOIL, doing all kinds of processes that need to be applied here. So you'll notice that I will not go as in depth since the goal here is just to solve for X, okay? If there's something that you don't understand, there's a 13.1, 0.2, 3, and 13.5 videos that go into great depth explaining all of these processes, okay? So I notice here that it tells me that it wants me to solve for X. I'm actually going to have to factor this one because it is an AX squared plus BX plus C form, because that is the form that's needed. We could do the AC method or we could do the shortcut. I'm actually going to do the shortcut. Okay, and so let's go ahead and start this problem. I know that because it's X squared, I'm going to have 2 factors. And in the problem, it is set equal to 0. Using the shortcut method, I know that the first spot in each parenthesis needs to be X, because if I went back and did FOIL, I would get to X squared, correct? Right here, I need to have 2 numbers that multiply to 18 and add to 11. I know 2 and 9 multiply to 18 and add to 11. Needs to be a positive 11 and a positive 18. So that would mean that they're both positive. And then what I need to do here, since they're set equal to 0, you set each individual factor equal to 0. Here I would move my 2, and what I get is X equals negative 2. And then if I move my 9, I get X equals negative 9. And this is an and. I actually just remembered, here I showed you the 2 values. It will want it, I'm so sorry. It will want it like that. They should, I'm just trying to think, they should already have the braces. You're just going to actually put the 2 values that X equals, whatever the solution set is. So here, our answer would be negative 2, comma, negative 9. Like I said, they should already have the braces, okay? I'll try to add a note on the video if I can. I hope I can remember. Okay, problem 2 is not in the correct form. It has a lot of the correct components to be in the correct form, but it's not already in the correct form. I do know I can put it in the correct form if I move a few things around, correct? I would actually need to move this positive 6x, and I would need to move this negative 9. I will show you all the steps for this one. This would be minus 6x and add 9, right? Because it's like I'm going to use the additive inverses. I need to get them from one side to the other. Well, what you do on one side, you have to do on the other side, correct? None of those are like terms, so you simply list them because we cannot combine them. Everything canceled right here, so it becomes 0, right? Okay, so now I actually have a trinomial set equal to 0. So I'm going to factor, just kind of looking at it. I don't see anything special. I know that because it's squared, I'm going to have 2 factors and it's set equal to 0. I know first thing I need to do is basically take the square root of x squared, right? X and x. And then looking at my 6 and my 9, what multiplies to give you 9, but then adds to give you 6? Maybe 3 and 3, right? Okay, well, they need to combine, right? They need to combine together to give me a negative 6. and they have to multiply to equal that constant, right? To equal that 9. And so I would notice that if I did a -3 and a -3, I get -6 when I add those together, and -3 times -3 is 9. Okay. See, I think I have the ability to just talk and solve. Like I'm still explaining it. When you have factors set equal to 0, you just go ahead and set each factor equal to 0. Solving this one, I would move and it would become a +3, correct? Same thing right here, I'd get a +3. Do y'all notice how those are the exact same value? So I'm literally just saying x equals 3. There's no reason at all to list it more than once. If a value is repeated, your solution set is just, that's definitely not a price. It's just that value. There's no reason to say x is 3, 3, right? X is 3. Plug in a 3, you'll get to 0. Okay, I've got an asterisk on this one, y'all. And the reason why I have an asterisk on this one is because it's pretty involved. And I just want to make sure that you'll understand that it's pretty involved. And this is definitely one that takes a couple of steps. Oh, I'm so sorry. So initially, I notice I need to move everything to one side. Y'all, it looks easier to move this over here. That is not what you want to do, because my form always has the leading term as positive. If I move this, it becomes negative. I don't want to do that. I want to move these. I don't care if these are negative, right? What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. None of those are alike, so you just list them. X to the 4th, a -3x cubed, a -40x squared. Everything over here, they were additive inverses, right? So like they canceled, I get a 0. This is not in the correct form. That's raised to the 4th power. What I learned, though, when I was doing my greatest common factors is if my degree is higher than 2, that means that I for sure should have a GCF to pull out. Looking at all 3 of these terms, the only thing they have in common is an x squared. So here we would go ahead and pull it out, which means to divide. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. A -3x cubed divided by x squared is a -3x. A -40x squared divided by x squared is a -40 equals 0. Okay, still not done, because I noticed that inside of my parenthesis, now I finally have it in that form that I could do the AC method, right? Do not forget that if you pulled something out, it needs to keep going with you, okay? It doesn't just stop there. You bring that down. And then because that is a squared variable, I know I'll get 2 factors. Let's go ahead and do the shortcut method. And let's go ahead and, it's also called like trial and error, y'all. Okay, it's both. But let's do this. I know that this needs to be an x and this needs to be an x. So what multiplies to give you your constant, and what adds or subtracts, right? What combines to give you your middle term? Well, I know that 5 times 8 is 40, and I know that if I have a -8 and a +5, I get to a -3, correct? Also, if I multiply them, I get back to -40. Now, y'all, now I just have factors set equal to 0, okay? And if you notice here, here's a 2, this is a 1. These both share, right? The fact that there's a 1. So I should have 3 values for x, okay? Those are going to be considered, just to the first degree. Okay, so you're going to set each factor equal to 0. I'm going to kind of show you something new here. I really only think there will be one problem on the homework that you would need to really understand this. With the exams being online, I can kind of control what questions are given to you, but it's not completely in my control. So maybe do an asterisk here so that, it does kind of stand out for you when you're studying. I'm going to go ahead and solve these two first, okay? So that middle equation, I would move my 5. It's positive, so it would become negative. So I do have an x equals negative 5. And then for x minus 8, right, or x negative 8 equals 0, I would move that negative 8 and it would become positive. And so right here, this is actually going to be the square root property. We have not done this in this class. This is actually kind of starting to begin where you'll pick up. Passing this class puts you right on to intermediate algebra, which is actually one of my loves. And this is similar to what you'll see there, okay? One problem, going to do it quickly. I noticed that I have an x squared equals 0. I don't really want to know what x squared is. I want to know what x is. And so what I'll do is I'll actually take the square root, just because I need a little bit more room, y'all. I'm actually going to take the square root of both sides. Now, the thing is, on the left-hand side, it is being squared, right? So perfectly fine mathematically, not breaking any rules, laws, nothing, to take its square root. On the right-hand side, it is not being squared. Therefore, when you take the square root of something not being squared, you have to add the plus or minus symbol because we have to account for both values, okay? On the left-hand side, y'all, when you take the square root of a square number, you can just go ahead and draw a line through the radical and through your square, right? Through that little 2, that subscript, or superscript actually. And the only thing we have left is just x equals, so we would have plus or minus, use your calculator, square root of 0 is just 0. And then this almost completely undoes the fact that I told you have to do this. Any other number that's not 0, you'll understand why in intermediate algebra. But with 0, y'all, 0 is neither positive nor negative. So what you get is just x equals 0, okay? And so this would mean that my values are going to be 0, negative 5, and 8. So the reason why I had an asterisk is because it was not written in the correct form. And then once we did write it in the correct form, we noticed that we had a GCF. Then after doing the GCF, we noticed we could do the AC method or the shortcut method. And then also right here, kind of introduced a new property. And that's really it, but it's involved, to say the least. Okay, y'all, this is the very last problem for this semester. I'm so sad. This one, honestly, probably could have used a little asterisk, but I think it's good. I noticed that it, for one, is not in the correct form, right? It almost looks like those problems we did in 13.6 part 1, right? But what it was factors set equal to 0, right? That's not a 0. So what I need to do is go ahead and move that first. So because nothing is like terms, I'm just going to simply write my factors. And I'm going to write what I moved. Y'all, over here, that cancels, right? I did that for a reason. It becomes 0, which is what I want. Now it's looking a little bit more like it's in the correct form. I'm looking at this and I'm noticing that what I can do, let me make sure before I say it. Okay, I'm looking at the answer key and I've got a -1 and a 2. That would also be a 0, but that wouldn't work. So I'm going to do it the way, because I just have the answer or the problem written down and then the answer. A part of me almost just wanted to set everything equal to 0, but then that just follow me and just honestly pretend I never said anything I just said for the last 10 seconds. What we're going to do is we're actually going to FOIL those two parentheses, the binomials that are multiplying each other together. And what I mean by that is to perform that operation right there using multiplication. X times x is x squared. X times a -1 is negative x. 2 times x is a positive 2x. 2 times a -1 So negative 2. Then we have this negative 2x equals 0. I notice additive inverses right here. Those are the exact same terms, but they had different signs. And then now what I'm working with is an x squared, negative x, a negative 2 equals 0. Perfect. I now have it in the form of trinomial. I know I can do either the AC method or the shortcut. Just be sure you don't forget that it's set equal to 0. I know that these two first spots need to be an x because this is just 1x squared, right? And then what I would do is I would look what multiplies to give me 2. Honestly, y'all, it's just 1 and 2, right? Those are the only factors of 2. And then if I want it to combine or add to a negative 1, I would want my larger number to be negative. Now what I have is factors set equal to 0. Let's go ahead and set each factor equal to 0. Solve each of these little equations. We would get x equals negative 1, and we would get x equals 2, right? And so putting this in like a solution set form, that would be our answer. Okay, so I hope all of that made sense. That's actually the end of 13.6. I'm not really sure what else to say. I feel like I've said a lot over the last, umpteen weeks. If y'all have any questions, though, whatsoever, just keep sending me emails and asking me, and I'm always here to help, okay? Thanks, y'all. Bye.